Hi everyone, my name is Zaquie Meredith, and today I'm going to talk about family constellations. There is nothing stronger than the family. Family gives life to the individual. We are used to thinking of ourselves as individuals, but actually, we are part of a system. We are part of several systems. We are interconnected in both positive or negative ways. For example, we are part of our family, school, community, neighborhood, the city, the country, the world, the company we work for, or some association, etc. So, one of the most important systems we belong to is the family constellation. So, what is this family constellation you may have heard of so many times? Family constellation is a method developed by the German philosopher, theologian, psychoanalyst Bert Hellinger. Very popular in Europe, in the United States, Latin American countries, and in Brazil. He noticed that one of the biggest conflicts the human being experiences may come from the very family, because many diseases may be caused by the family. If within the very family there may be destinies affecting all its members. Remember that we belong to a family system, which we also call family ties. So there are family ties within our family, which are almost invisible. Yet, these ties are very, very strong. These family ties are the reason why destinies are shared by all the members of the same family. For example, if a mother died early, the children from this family may have the need to follow the mother in death. And of course, the task of the constellator is to expose the gravity of this situation. So, in family constellation, we assume we are connected to one another in our family, the same way our organs are connected. Although all the organs, just like the members of the family, will act independently. Therefore, each one of us is deeply connected to our families, our parents, our siblings, and even members from previous generations, our ancestors. So this very strong connection and a consequent need for compensation may cause a disease, especially if something serious happened with the family. Across generations, there is a need for compensation. Let me explain what this means. When a tragic fate of a member of a family was not sufficiently acknowledged and integrated, a child from that family may identify herself, himself, unconsciously with such a fate or person. Out of love for that family, he or she seeks to restore the balance, unaware that he or she is taking on the pain of that person. Of course, this is all done unconsciously. So we say we follow the fate of a family member either out of love or out of pain. Very well. Constellations will have an effect on the family, even if one knows nothing about that family. These are mysterious connections. So we can say a constellation is a systemic perception of how our family relationships may become a positive connection for our life and our profession. Thus, this brief therapy will highlight the connection each member has with one another within the family. And the purpose of this approach is to bring back to you, to the members of the family, the connections that throughout the years have been somehow lost and they are invaluable to you. You see, we all have strong ties and connections with our family, even if we don't want to. We may even be far from our mother, our father, but without knowing, we may be repeating the negative fate of a family member, all unconsciously. Phenomena. So Bert Hellinger, who is the creator of the family constellation, discovered that upon setting up a constellation, the participants who work as representatives of the family members will express true feelings and sensations, reflecting the members of that particular family. So, for example, there was a gentleman who had been to war and who had his arm cut off. The person representing him in the constellation was not aware of that, yet he would hold the arm, the same arm that had been cut off, amputated, and he said, I feel pain here, without knowing that had actually happened with one of the members of that family. And one of the great benefits of this therapy is that you only have to work each theme, each issue only once, and the family members don't have to be present, only you. What happens? Family constellation transmits a spatial image of what happens in that family. And it isn't until the family ties are acknowledged that we can clearly see the responsibility of each member of the family and thus remake the family fabric. That's exactly what we do in constellations. We begin to acknowledge what hadn't been acknowledged and include what was excluded, regardless of when that happened, whether it was in this generation or the last one. So the family system is very powerful. The connections are very deep, and everyone there is so touched by it that we learn to use these positive forces to restore the order. We can attenuate the effects of a terrible fate because these forces have a liberating effect. And it is very good to see and observe a person watch his or her own family constellation. It's very nice, and we can see the liberating effect it has on that person. When we constellate a past issue, this comes up more clearly. For example, in the past, families used to have a lot of secrets no one dared speak of. The idea is that within a family, events and destinies communicate across generations, even when nothing has been communicated to us, even if there haven't been any physical contact across these generations. Through constellations, it seems that we carry this memory of our ancestors within us. Field of knowledge. We believe the groups in the family constellations enter a field of wisdom, a unified field we call field of knowledge. And this field penetrates deeply into each being and his or her relations. So the client gets in touch with knowledge that is occult, and the people who are representing the family members will also be in contact with this occult knowledge. Loyalty. In constellations, something will take place that we call loyalty. It happened with you, it happened with me, it may happen with most people. Children have a deep love for their original family and are even ready to die for it. They believe they can help other members of the family, the mother, the father, especially if they see that the parents is sad or were sad or used to fight or were not happy. Children instinctively know what they must do to belong to the group. You know, children of the blind will often behave like the blind, even though they are not blind and can't see. Their ties are so deep that we call this loyalty a childish love. The thing is that oftentimes we are carrying this loyalty up until our adult age. So, unintentionally, we are being loyal to our father or our mother in a negative way without knowing, and many things might not be working in your life for this reason. Every child acts out of love. Even when they are disturbed, they will act out of love. Now, we have to discover where this love is. At what point this love is. A child feels the need to protect at a very archaic level, to love the family, protect the family. Children feel that if they carry their parents' burden, the parents will be redeemed. Once I did a constellation in the city of Fortaleza, in which the woman, as a child, had made a pact with her mother's depression, her sadness, to have it passed on to her so that her mother could be free from it. But what happened was, the mother was not free from it, and neither was she, so she needed a constellation to remake the family fabric. Such is the child's love for the parents, for the family. Children believe that loving is enough for solving the family's issues, as if the fate of the other person were in their hands. However, this is not true. This is childish love. And parents oftentimes have this posture with their children. They think that just giving love is enough, loving their children is enough, and that everything will work out for them. Behind this, there is the idea that only love has power. But in family constellation, we believe that this love can destroy. It is not a love that builds, but rather a love that destroys. Transmission across generations. So, we are connected to more than one generation within our family, and besides what we inherit genetically, information is transmitted through our fields, which we call morphic fields according to Rupert Sheldrake. And these fields contain a kind of collective memory we belong to. This memory gets enriched by each member of this species. Each member is connected to this memory. So we can have the memory of our grandparents, great-grandparents inside of us, and many times as suffering. If something doesn't go well in our lives, we might be connected to this transmission across generations. Setting up a family constellation. In family constellation is to have a general overview of the family. This involves in identifying all the people who belong to that family and all the people who affect the client. Actually, our ties are eternal, but we need to bring quality to them. No one wants to be tied to people who cause harm to us. Therefore, family constellation helps bring solutions to family problems, relationship problems, problems with work and personality. Solutions. When we set up a systemic constellation, we can see the fabric, the invisible ties behind that situation. This way, it is possible to rebuild the connections, the ties. It is a phenomenological work, and 95% of the people undergo a deep transformation in their lives, both personally and in their family lives. They begin to feel gratitude for the family. The family becomes a force. After the person sets up his or her constellation, this will bring her or him new images of what happened, and these images may affect the whole system in a positive way, and the identity of each family member is, of course, preserved. Additional information. I do individual sessions and also through workshops, seminars, group sessions. So I invite you to visit my website for further information. Thank you all very much.